This is Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Bury.
You can call it chutzpah, moxie, audacity, whatever term you like. It is a quality many New Yorkers seem to wear like a second skin. Shrinking violets, after all, tend to get lost in the shuffle of the big city. So when a prominent New York still photographer was denied access to Ground Zero, he wasn't about to take no for an answer. He understood that the rubble of the World Trade Center was far more than a crime scene or merely a place of passing journalistic curiosity. To him, it was hallowed historical ground. And the very idea that authorities would prevent a photographic record of that history as it unfolded was simply too much to take. That's where the chutzpah comes in. This is the tale of one man's odyssey to create an exhaustive archive of the rescue and recovery work at Ground Zero, and the remarkable stories he and his photographs tell along the way. ABC News correspondent Robert Krulwich is our tour guide tonight.
I'm Joel Meyerowitz. I'm the official photographer. I work for the mayor. I've been down here 6 months.
For months, he's been calling himself the official photographer, though he's not exactly official.
You can't be on this side of the Jersey barrier.
I got to make a picture here for a minute, then we're going to go down below.
He says he's with the mayor, though he's never met the mayor.
What is the DDC rules? Any city, federal, state.
And so almost every day at Ground Zero, he is told, you can't take photos, leave.
Huh?
So where's your DDC guy?
DDC's on the 30th floor.
And yet, the photos that Joel Meyerowitz was not allowed to take have been chosen by the State Department, by no less than Colin Powell himself, to tour 60 cities around the world. But this was not a government project, not at all. It began last September when Joel, a very celebrated New York photographer, went like a tourist to photograph the damage.
And I raise the camera and I get this blow on the back of my shoulder, this jab. And I turn around and there's a policewoman standing behind me. And she says, "No photographs, buddy. This is a crime scene." And you know, such a blow, it woke me up right on the pressure point. and I said to her, but why can't I take a picture? And she said, "Listen, we can take that camera away from you. There's no photographs allowed. This is a crime scene." So I said, well, suppose I was a member of the press. And I tell you, she did the most incredible thing. She had this magisterial way. She said, "The press, huh?" And she points a block north. And I looked at the side, I looked at the press, I looked at her, and I thought, this is crazy.
Joel was never in love with the World Trade Center towers. Few New Yorkers were. But from his studio window, he had photographed them, and gradually, he says,
I have to say, as years went by, they became beautiful.
On the day the towers fell, Joel was on Cape Cod, but he came back as quickly as possible.
This was my city, and I just needed to be there. I started to walk back uptown to my house, and that moment of clarity occurred. I thought, if there's no photography allowed, then there's no history. And I just had this understanding that I'm going to go in there and make those pictures. I'm going to make the historical record.
So Joel called the director of the Museum of the City of New York, whom we didn't know, and he said, "Can you write me a letter?"
You can look me up.
A letter to whom?
To whom it may concern. You know, the cop on the beat.
I could do that for you. So
State
you're going to go
troopers.
to an FBI agent or a state trooper and say, "I have a letter from a museum, so
Yeah.
you let me in."
Yeah, not only...
What were you thinking? I mean, you've lived here for a while.
I thought, I'm going to see if I could make this letter work. And it didn't.
These are their rules. They run this job here.
Well,
Guards don't care about letters from museums.
he stopped me a week or so ago, and I gave him the same shit, and I said, hey,
Joel was let in, kicked out,
but I'm not going to let him bully me around.
so he got a Parks Department friend to give him a pass. The pass helped.
And I started to work. And it was one of those experiences where every step I took, it was jaw-droppingly awesome. It's like, huh? I mean, this is it. It was inconceivable. It was operatic, seething with activity.
This is what he saw back in September. These are his video images.
And I was in the middle. And I started making my way around. Unbelievable. To enter the site was to walk into a field of swords. Everything was leaping out of the ground, razor sharp, having either come down or broken off and just stuck everywhere. It's like diving into a hell. The razor blade sharp quality of it stings you awake.
And he's moving through this space carrying, as you see here, a large, ungainly, antique-looking camera like something from the Civil War. Takes good pictures, but this camera attracted a lot of attention. Police would notice him, question him, and then evict him. Until one day, Joel was backing up a hill.
Carrying this thing.
Carrying this thing, and there are 5 guys sitting on these chairs. I just notice over my shoulder, and I keep going back and thinking, is this the place? Is this the place, you know? And I back up to the top of the hill where they're sitting, and I had this impulse. I don't know why, but I sat down on somebody's lap.
Intentionally?
Yeah, it was the icebreaker. They immediately said, hey, what kind of camera is that? What are you doing? You know, and they were interested. Turned out to be 5 detectives from the arson explosion squad. They said, wow, this is fantastic. Come on, we'll take you upstairs. And they took me up to the top of this building.
And this is what they showed him. Or rather, this is the first thing they showed him. They would take him next to places that no one but the firemen had seen.
This is ABC News Nightline. This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by UPS.
Joel Meyerowitz spent the fall and then the winter fighting to take pictures at Ground Zero.
I was going to make an archive. I'm making a record, artfully, I hope, but nonetheless a simple record of what it looked like to me. Why was I so trembly when I stood in front of these things? Because the enormity of it and the complexity of it left me weak. And I thought, that's the thing I want to communicate.
Joel's taken maybe 3,000 pictures by now.
Here are 2 guys in T-shirts.
When he started, the whole place was quite literally on top of a fire.
And it was hot.
So that's why they're hosing it down to try to cool it off?
They hosed it down day and night.
Beneath that rubble, 10 floors down, there was a seething fire that would not go out, not for months. And every so often, he says, it erupted.
I mean, this is typical of what would happen. I mean, just a sunny day. It's a perfect day. And this grappler here is pulling things out of the pile. And it grabs a handful of stuff. And suddenly, you get this incredible cloud. Comes out.
This whole black cloud wasn't there
No,
a minute before?
it looked just like this. It was just white smoke leaching out of the ground, and then they reach in, and suddenly you get a huge white explosion, and then black right after it. I don't know why.
There were so many surprises. Most every day you'd see rescuers quietly, deliberately raking through the debris, looking. But one day, one of them came up to Joel.
He says, Joel, you got to see this. And he holds up an envelope, and in the envelope is his graduation picture from the police academy. And here, 20 years before, and he's holding this picture of me saying, look, this is me. You know, he found himself in the rubble of the World Trade Center.
Here's the guy.
It's my academy graduation photo.
That photo had been part of an archive housed in the World Trade Center.
I mean, it was like one of those coincidences, an astonishing coincidence.
Or there was the time he saw a large group of firemen gathered by a pit, and down in front of them they'd found a group of bodies trapped in a stairwell.
And this is inside the South Tower. When they found these men in the stairwell was from the North Tower, which means it traveled 100 yards in the air and landed here to be buried by more fallen building. So I think when you come across something like that and you have this evidence of the flight of that stairwell, you know, I mean, I haven't slept well for 5 months because I've seen so much of this kind of evidence.
But some experiences were simply beyond explanation. Joel heard this story from some firemen.
They were scraping away at a particular area because they had found some remains there, and they were sifting and doing their work. And they were in a cloud. This smoke was swirling around them. And suddenly, they are surrounded by monarch butterflies. Maybe 50 of these butterflies flitting through the smoke. The butterflies are probably on their way to Mexico for their migration, because it is October probably. And these guys said they were just covered with butterflies, and they're on their knees. And one of the guys stands up and says, souls. The kind of experience they have down there. I mean, it's like they're poets, too.
And they are also human, and sometimes the things that they see and the things they find are too hard to bear.
And I tell you, out of nowhere, a chaplain will arrive, 5 or 6 other firemen that hold on to the guy. They start to have one of these impromptu prayer services on the street. And it's helpful.
There's something about Joel's pictures I had to ask.
Well, can you guys go pick up that one? This one on the floor is very pretty.
It is pretty.
Yeah, just bring
But
now look, you know, it's got. This is gorgeous. Haven't you ever wondered whether these pink cotton candy clouds don't insult the event, which was a mass murder? You don't mix mass murder and cotton candy.
well, you're right. They don't, on the page, if you were writing about it, you wouldn't want to associate those two things. But, you know, I had to deal with it just as you're asking me now. When I stood there, I thought, oh my God, can I do this? And then I thought, I must do this. And it's good to deal with that question because that's one of our life's conundrums, you know. We're always going to be burying somebody on a beautiful day. I mean, it's almost unavoidable that beautiful things will happen in a horrific place. And I can't take the responsibility. I just have to take the picture and then leave the question open for other people.
What's your name?
Meyerowitz, Joel Meyerowitz.
People at Ground Zero had been watching Joel for months and wondering about him.
And have you seen him working all along? I have seen him, yeah. Several weeks back, we were working in the valley of rebar.
Rebar are those steel rods that stick out of concrete.
And we were doing a recovery, and when it came up out of the hole, he was spinning it with the view camera.
And he seems to be the only one. I mean,
yes. Yeah. And all I kept thinking was, I got to see these pictures.
But to take those pictures, what Joel needed was a real police pass. And finally, a sympathetic commissioner said, all right, come to headquarters, and we'll give you one.
I go to police headquarters, and I get taken upstairs by this guy. And I get, you know, fingerprinted, barcoded, photographed, and they make me a little badge. And this old guy is standing there. He's sort of hunched over. He probably should have been retired years ago. And the woman who's typing says, well, what do we call him? He says, oh, let's see. Well, let's call him the Mayoral Photographer.
The Mayoral Photographer?
The Mayoral Photographer. So I have this badge with this. I go out there and I test it immediately. I go right to the site. I show it to the guy. I say, right this way? Sure, go ahead. I was like, ah, magic. It was magic.
And now he was truly in, which meant from then on, anything that happened, he could shoot. Anything. Like the day they discovered $11 million spilling out of a broken vault.
Oh, my God. Oh, my.
And then at the end, when they had...
That's all money?
That's all money. And then what was even better, they pile it into a little truck, and the truck drives away, and I'm standing on the road watching the truck go away, and one of the bags of money falls off. lying there, you know, and it's just like, and I'm looking at it thinking, you quickly look around, anybody here looking?
So it can go from nutty to sad to nutty to sad on a dime?
On a dime.
And when we return, one of Joel's most personal and maybe his saddest photograph. The way it works at Ground Zero is first the giant grapplers move in, they pull up some debris, and the firemen stand by and wait until the debris is put back down so they can begin searching through the rubble.
You see that? He's done a kind of sifting thing.
Yeah.
So that they could look better. He's shaking it out. See how it's more gentle he's doing it now?
Yeah.
Because they think they may have seen something. So he's going to get another mouthful and he's going to lay it out like this. I mean, there's a kind of delicacy that these primitive-looking machines, I mean, they look like dinosaurs sometimes.
They do.
They go in there and look at that. I mean, is he doing it delicately or not?
Joel says he is constantly amazed by the gentleness and the dignity that attends all these proceedings. There was a ceremony last November, he remembers, for 9,000 family members who went to a service and then gathered at the edge of the site to look. Joel was inside, taking pictures.
At the end of the service, people started, first one woman came over and handed the fireman a bouquet of flowers and said, could you please, I was right nearby, so I heard it, could you just please put this on the pile somewhere for my husband? So the guy walked over and put it on the pile. And then when he came back, somebody else was there. Could you put this photograph and this teddy bear and this flag? And pretty soon people started lining up, dozens of them. And they started asking these 4 firemen to bring this over. And I tell you, each of these guys did the most humble and moving thing. They would take the photograph and they would just stand there and just look at it. And then carry it away and put it down with such care. And to see them do it again and again and again, no haste. There wasn't ever a moment where they just sort of walked over, put it down, came back. They took every flower and every photograph and every object and they gave it their full commitment. And the speed they walked at was a kind of dirge speed. And I watched this and I started walking with them, because it was so powerful to see them do it over and over again. It was this lament. And at some point, I walked back with them, and there was a rabbi and a priest standing together. And they called me over, and they gave me something. And I said, well, should I give it to one of the firemen? They said, no, you take it over. And it was that thing of being, you know, I was thinking of myself as the outsider, slightly detached, you know, but observant. And suddenly, I find myself carrying this thing over. And
what was it?
It was a photograph with like a scroll. It's here somewhere. And I carried it over, and I put it down just the way he's putting it down. You can see, he's not posing for anybody. He's putting it down with that kind of concentration that comes out of the entirety of their experience. And I found myself in that same mood, you know, and it really just choked me up. I was in tears going back and forth. And then more and more people started asking me to sort of help them. And it's that kind of display, you know, that one witness is down there all the time.
For Nightline, I'm Robert Krulwich in New York.
I'll be back with a word about 2 upcoming Nightline specials.